Hello there. One thing that you might know about me, considering all of those videos that I've been in, is that I quite like Warhammer 40,000. You might also have noticed that I didn't exactly do a lot with this channel last year, so how about we combine those two things and solve the problem of me not painting my damn miniatures? So what I'm going to do this year is at the end of each month I'm going to put up a video just like this one where I catalogue everything that I've painted throughout the month. I'm aiming to try and get 52 done throughout the year, so that's one per week, which doesn't seem like that lofty a goal, but considering that I only painted about 15 last year, I think it's going to be a definite improvement. Hopefully these videos will be entertaining for you folks too, but to be perfectly honest, these things are mostly here just to shame me into painting my damn miniatures. But don't worry, if this isn't your thing, then I should hopefully have some other stuff on this channel this year as well. Hopefully, you know, better than last year anyway. So, since I'm recording this intro bit on the 14th of January, let's see what future me has painted in the last month. Rather fittingly, my first model of 2019 was the first Space Marine model, ever. This thing comes from around 1985 originally, predating the release of 40k. I say around 1985 because I've seen multiple sources claim different dates for its release, even from Games Workshop themselves. But anyway, as you might expect from the first Space Marine, it's not quite the same to paint as a modern one. For one, it's just one lump of metal, not even the backpack is a separate piece here. Also, the details are a bit vague in places, like the ribbing on the elbow and knee pads is not present everywhere, so you have to paint it in. But these things happen on models that are over 30 years old, and it probably had a rough life before it got to me anyway. Regardless, I painted this one up as one of my Blood Angel successor chapter, as I wanted to make a Stern Guard squad from Rogue Trader era models, because that's just the sort of person I am. He's also really tiny, which is adorable. Up next we have a one-off that I painted just for the hell of it. It's a Rogue Trader Guardsman, Trooper Morris if I recall correctly. He was sent into our PO box by Richard, so thank you Richard. I was quite surprised once I got paint on him to find out that his face wasn't totally horrible, something you kind of expect from Rogue Trader miniatures. It's way more cartoony than a modern sculpt certainly, but it has a lot of character. I was also pretty pleased with the number I painted on his shoulder too. Pleased enough that I didn't repaint it once I realised that the angle was slightly off, but nah. I went with the grey since in a lot of the catalogues they show the old Imperial Army models in grey, and the blue stripe is just because I wanted a colour I rarely use and it just seemed to fit. Just to prove I do actually paint models that were made this side of the millennium, for my third model I painted up a Genestealer Occultist from the Kill Team box set. I've kind of been putting off doing these guys for a while because I just couldn't decide on how to paint them, so what I ended up doing was just taking my least favourite model from the Kill Team and using him as a test. And by test, I mean making it up as I go along. I eventually came up with a scheme I was happy enough with, although there is some thicker paint than I would hope here and there since I was trial and erroring this something fierce. I also tried out a new texture paint for the base. I hadn't used Astro Granite Debris before, and I was pretty pleased with how you can get the same effect as using gravel on a base, but with far more control. Also, the skin tone came out better than I hoped. It's just Rakarth flesh with Druchii Violet wash in the recesses and then highlighted with Ushabti bone. But I think it works. Next is a Space Crusade Gretchen from 1990. He's huge. I'm not super happy with the face, but it's a weird old face anyway, so whatever. I painted him up to fit in with my modern orcs rather than in era appropriate colours, but I've got a bunch of these so maybe I'll do another one later in the year sporting a more early 90s look. It's also a little weird to see a grot so fully dressed. They usually show a lot more skin, but hey, it's their choice. The last model for January, or at least the last one before I started putting this video together, is an Orc Commando. The full squad was sent in to us by Fallout Boy years ago, so thanks again Fallout Boy. That's their alias, not the band. I do not know the band. Anyway, despite using them in a bunch of games, I've not actually got around to painting the complete squad, so this one I sort of took to one side and completed up as a test to see how the rest of the squad would look. I've actually started batch painting the rest, so hopefully you'll see those next month. That is, if I don't get distracted. You might have noticed from all the disparate things I painted this month that I do tend to flit around different types of models a lot. Okay, so that's what I painted in January. Not much, but since this is the first one, I'm putting together this video a bit earlier in the month than I will be in the future. Plus there's a handful of things that I've started but not finished yet, so I'm content and on schedule, which is the main thing. Let me know how you like this video and if there's anything more you'd like me to add, like, would you like me to go into more detail as to what paints I used on each mini or anything like that? After all, I'm going to be making another 11 of these, so I might as well get them right. Oh, and as an incentive to paint more, I have bought myself a little gift. some Sanguinary Guard, but using Forge World Heresy era helmets. Now, I'm not allowing myself to put these guys together until I've painted half of my goal, that being 26 miniatures, and I really want to build and paint them. I just must know the joy of painting tiny, shiny golden nipples. So I guess I'll see you next month, where I'll have another batch of tiny painted people for your viewing pleasure. See you then.